We're going to go through a range of things today. I want you to make sure you know how to put your last name into your ID into your last name. So I'm just gonna put the slide on. Where's my screen share?
Seeing the mountains, Greg?
Yeah, I just made the screen smaller for some silly reason. Now I can't open it back up again. Let me go back here. Okay. So all I'm going to do is start the show. So if you go to your face, you'll see the three dots. You click on that and it'll say name, and then you just take your last name, scratch it off, and put your ID number there. And then we'll all see who's talking and which drive is talking. All right? So let's have a look at how well that worked. Okay, I'm just waiting for a few. A few of you are fiddling, so I don't want to talk while you're fiddling. And go. Now, what you
preferably don't put in Greg Meyer.
No, no, don't put it. Please don't do that. Okay. Let's go share. I just want to look at one more thing. Hang on. Lee, and you're going to keep an eye on the chats?
I am indeed.
Okay. And let me go to speaker thumbnail, and there we go. I want to be able to see your faces, and I lost it there for a minute. All right, now, first up, this idea of the peak performance indicator. Many of you have heard Paul go, "Where are you today?" That's a tough one for me sometimes because I get a number that pops in my head, and then if I think too much, I can think of different things going on. The number drops or goes up. And so what we'd like you to think about is where you are relative to where you want to be, not so much what just your number is. But, you know, if you've got a 4 running and the situation is such that you just feel really lost, you don't know what to do, sometimes sitting in that's a good thing to go, okay, what do I want to do? And I think that what I'm looking for today is listen to yourself. I'm going to ask you a few questions, write down some numbers for some situations. And as we go through combos, look at how your drive, if it was somebody else and you were giving someone else some coaching using their ID, what would you tell them to do with that? What would you say? Well, this drive needs this drive needs that. So to get kicked in, I'd like you to think about your peak performance indicator in terms of give yourself, write down an overall number. And then I'm going to give you some categories, and just without thinking, pop them out. Like just put down the different numbers that come from different categories. Don't think about it too much. So your overall, where are you right now? And remember what's going on here is that the slide before this one, when we do the workshops, is the onion skins, which we talk about your need to be a human and your need to be loved and belong and to be accepted and make a difference and be true to your ID. And there's a class there built in, and it shows here in the peak performance indicator. This true to me is also is a need to be human. And I also want to belong, and I also want to be appreciated, and I also want to love, and I want to be loved. So there's all those things that go with that true to me. And constantly, there's my jobby people and my family people and my other relationships and my education that I came from, all these things pulling me to what their version of the tribe is. And we have this constant, I think, conflict going on between being in the tribe, being accepted and loved and appreciated, and being true to ourselves, And I think those are constantly in play. And to the point that if you think back to the old days, 10,000 years ago, just think back for a moment, and we were with a group that if we didn't be with a group, we'd die. And so being banished was the worst thing that can happen. And so think now the times when you feel most ready to put your guns on or most ready to go and curl up in a ball and cry. And it's the time you've been banished by either A, your partner, your workplace, the people on the road that won't let you cut into the traffic, whatever you want to think of. Banishment is like, ah. So I think for me, the peak performance indicator is a battle between, if you will, being true to me and fitting in, being true to me and fitting in. And the thing that the ID provides, which was why I abandoned Myers-Briggs, TMI, peak performance, Johari window, all those back in 2001 when I first found ID, is because it gives me a way to ease that tension and to make peace with those differences and to find a cohabitation to be me and fit in. And by the way, boys and girls, it's a moving feast. Sometimes it's all me, sometimes it's all you, so to speak. So think about where your number is now for work in general, just your workplace. Boom, put it down. Then home in general. You and COVID. You and your health. Your finances. Your kids. Partners. Lastly, you and fun. Having fun. Now, leave that to sit there for a little while. I'm just going to, I got a bigger screen here. I can really see more of you. This is great. And thank you all for changing your last name to your ID. By the way, I'm laughing is I'm also really big in permaculture here in Sydney West, and it's a sustainable living method of living, and based on organic and copying nature. And someone pointed out the other day that the name permaculture has the word cult in the middle of it, right? I'd never seen it before. Right? And I realized that on this call, someone just rocking in on this call were going, what Kool-Aid are these people drinking? And their last names are all numbers, It's like, so, by the way, there are magpies coming here from time to time, so don't worry about that. So get your numbers. And while we're going through the combos, situations from any one of those things might pop out. And when we need examples, I'd like you to use them. And then as we go through, see if you can apply what we're talking and put some strategies to them. And recognize this, your number for health and your number for business and so forth might be totally different. Anything, as Paul says, down below 8 means there's room for improvement. It's probably causing you some stress. But sometimes I find if you work with, just pick one area of it and you look at, well, what would I have to do to get myself an 8 there? You're going to find that the strategies for remedying that are going to remedy a lot of other things at the same time, right? You start realizing, I've got back pain. Well, if you lose some weight, your back pain can go down. And then you go, yeah, well, I'm losing weight. I might as well start exercising. You start exercising, and then you realize it's this book you wanted to read. And all of a sudden, you moved yourself to an 8 across the board because you just started fixing one thing. So if you feel overwhelmed with stuff from time to time and your peak performance is too low, just pick one thing. And the way we're going to go through today is the one thing to pick is basically start with your strongest drive. So this week we're going to be looking at the impact of a whole ID. And you apply your whole ID. I want you to play around with the times you are in stride and out of stride, because when you're in stride, and we break that one down, it gives you tips of what to do when you're not in stride. So we'll go from some examples of stuff, and this is going to work because you guys talk. So this is just set up, and then we're going to start interacting with it. So I'll give you an example. I've already picked a time where, so I'm a 5'8", 2'6". Imagine a 5826 is asked to run someone else's webinar for them, and that someone else is an 8147, okay? Just a hypothetical here, right? And what you need to, let's break it down. So pretend you're me, I'm 5826, and he says, oh, listen, I was thinking I'm going to start, would you like? I went, what's the first reaction of the 5826 to that? Go ahead and unmute and talk, folks. What's he going to say? Just without thinking too much. Huh?
Yeah, that would be, what's going to be the bottom line? What's the object of this one?
Okay. The 8's going to go, what do you want to get done there? Right? But is he going to, with this combo and that too, is he going to say, yeah, yes, and then that question? What's.
I don't know.
Okay.
He'll say it's bigger than that, Greg.
he's going to say, he's going to answer it, can I do this and deliver what he's going to need to deliver, or is this a trap? And that's the two questions. Will it work, 8, or am I going to get trapped too? Trap is, am I catching up with myself something that I'm not going to be able to get out of? It's like wreck it, 8, wreck it. So there's a whole lot of, can I do this is the first thing he asks himself. And am I free to do it? So as Paul's chatting, I'm actually looking at my calendar because I already have had this weeks with you guys, and I go, well, yeah, this gives me a reason to talk. I had to mute myself too much before. It's like, sure. But if it was something that I had not had experience with and had not have real life experience proof I could do it, I'm going to go, I'm going to start asking those questions. It's got to be real. It's got to do what the outcome is, which we've since had a good chat about. When does the 5 kick in? Right, you should be doing this. No, never, doesn't play. The 5 has to be asked, excuse me, what do you do? Can you help me here? There is no 5 in my drive. There's no 5 operating in my life because the 5 says I don't have the look up, I don't have the look down for verify. So when's the 6 kick in? Think of your 4 drives as 4 little birdies in a nest, and the mama birds come back with some worms, and it's feeding time. The biggest drives get the worms, and the shortest drives get the scraps. Now, it's a bit rough on the shortest drive because it can't kick in until the other 2 are happy. Are we good? Like just whenever you're working with someone, just always include the needs and talents of goal biz. If you're going to look at this when you're in and out of stride, I'll go through this, but always start with the strongest drive and then work down. So the 8 or the 2 first. Now this is one I want to kick in with a little bit. I have an 8 and a 2, or you have 7s and 3s. You have 2 7s. You have 2 3s. Which wins? So let's ask. I'm gonna find someone to put on the spot here. PMC, you comfortable to have a shot? Can I ask you a question? All right. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. 3737. I know a 7373. A few of us from old timers know about Jill, the 7373. We asked her a similar question. You have a chance to do this yourself and be really involved with it, or you have a chance to get someone else in who's going to make it absolutely stunning, that you guarantee it's stunning. You do it yourself. You're pretty sure you'd make it stunning, but they guarantee it. But you can do it yourself. What do?
Have them do it.
Always. Because why?
They'll make a better, if it's guaranteed, they'll make a stunning impression.
Okay,
I want
now,
that guarantee.
all right,
Yeah.
now similar question. Someone else says, that person goes, I'll do this, I'll do it, and I'll do it as good as you'll do it. I'll make it stunning. It's your choice. Want me to do it or you want to do it?
I'll do it. because I can do it as good as you. Is like, no. If it's as good as I can do it, I might as well do it myself.
Right.
And that's the authenticate coming out, doing it myself.
Yeah. Now, if you're not quite
But if
sure,
they're going to make a bigger impression, yeah. Go ahead.
okay. If you're not quite sure,
Uh-huh.
it could go either way.
Uh-huh.
Which one? What do you do?
110% I do it myself.
Okay.
So
Now,
I'm the middle one would probably be 50-50. It depends on,
okay.
my
What you're
relationship and all
seeing,
that stuff.
what you're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, is when the two drives are operating, we can't really decide between them most of the time. Like,
I mean, and I have all four equal.
I know,
So
and you got.
I'm
what's
psycho.
what's also kicking in there for you is the 3 incomplete,
Yeah.
which is saying, yeah, if I do it, I got more flex. I know I'm there. I don't have to wait on them, and I don't know if I'm gonna. So that's why you'll spill to you, but it won't be just from the 7. It'll be also from the 3 complete.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be questioned on it, down 3 for the verified. Yeah, nah.
Don't ask me any questions for
Yeah.
sure.
So there's more. There's more going on when you have some question to do something.
Mhm.
All 4 birds are going me, and they're
Oh,
fighting
yeah.
it out. Okay. So the rest of you who have 6 and 4s, say a little prayer for your 6 and 4 sometimes, because when you have those strong drives, baby, they don't give up. They don't let up. Right? So when you're looking to peak performance yourself back, that's why sometimes it seems like you're fighting yourself with a strategy to do something, because one drive's going to do this and another drive's going to do that. But the goal is to please them both, please them all, feed them all. And I think maybe sometimes it is a just take turns. And black belt is getting a strategy with happy, solves them both, satisfies them both at the same time. So I'll give you an example with that Paul thing. I knew I could do this. I do this for a living, but it's his gig. And I don't want to wreck what his bloody one intentions are, right? So I'm going, I know what I'd do if I had an hour with you guys, right? And so we had to do a bit of back and forth, 8 in authenticate, 1 in authenticate, and I had to constantly check in with, do you mean by? And what I used with him was, let me tell you what I think you mean by this before you tell me, so I'm not biased. And then when I started telling him what I thought he wanted me to do, and he starts nodding, I'm good. And he never then went and explained it. He goes, okay, good, you got that. And then moved on, right? So I had to sort of go down, authenticate a little bit in intention to make it as real as possible for him. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so this is the blend. You want to find a way in your drives. I need to find a way in mine to make it as real as possible and keep it fluid as possible. And then I want it to have an impact on you that you go, wow. So that comes after. If I feel like I'm not being useful or hitting the mark, you won't see the bubbly Greg. That's when push aside, let me take over Greg comes in. Joe, you're laughing. You know this person too, do you? It's like, I'll handle this. Right? But your 8 can trump it, because your 8 will decide, hang on, I better back off on this because it'll lose its stunning. Or I'll let someone else come in here because your 8's that's your decider. So
excuse me, Greg, it's Gail here.
Yeah, Gail.
4229. So if I were in that situation and I'd given it to someone else to do, as far as I'm concerned, I've delegated it to them and I don't give a stuff anymore, even though it may be my gig. So I'm curious why. I appreciate as an 8, that's your need, but my need is, oh, well, he's doing it. That's it. End of story. Just curious.
Well, you gave the answer in your the end of your sentence. You don't give a stuff about it.
That's how it feels.
Well, so sorry to be the one to tell you, but that's what it is. When you really,
Gail, that's probably the difference of the 8 in verify for Paul and the 4 for you. You said, you just, so what?
Yeah.
Yeah, could be, but I'm just looking at it as an authenticator. From my authenticate to.
That's why the
which is
whole
similar-
ID is
Okay,
important.
well, this is a great example, Gail. So the authenticate to must be pleased that some version of your dream is going to be achieved by them, and that's in motion.
Yep.
And the 4 is going, yeah, it's whatever, however way they do that. There is no priority. There's no right or wrong. There's no sequence. There's no structure from a verification. So it's got no how. You don't need to look at the how. They did something in your handover that gave you the impression they got it. They got it. And then once you got that, you go, yeah, I don't care. But you do care, but it's been handled. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And can I add, it's always nice from a viewer's perspective to actually see someone else doing and handling it. So as an audience member, if you like, participating, I'm actually pleased to see you or whoever, because it just gives me a different perspective. But I'm not a verifier, and I'm sure a verifier would not view it that way.
We'll ask. But which drive of hers is great to see a different face here?
That's the old improvise, I know.
No, I'm calling it the 2 and complete for one thing. It's like, oh, great variety. And the improvise is like, oh, what's this guy going to do? That's the surprise part, right? New fireworks. Oh, they're not taking him off the bridge there. They're blowing him off the AMP building, that sort of thing. All right. I got another one. I had to go to a Cape York. We got a chance to go on a motorcycle trip to Cape York. This is 10 years ago now. And to do that was have a dirt bike and be riding for 10 days from Cairns to the top of Australia, sorry, a week up and a week back. And support vehicles following us with all the food, camping gear, and so forth. And we free camped every night. And we're crossing mud and gravel and sand, and it's a serious. It's called the Telegraph Track, the Telegraph Road, and it's a track. And I'm getting ready for this thing, and I am stripping my bike apart, and I'm putting tubes up so my water won't get in my carburetor, and I'm putting on extra gear and filters, and we had a shakedown weekend, and I'm fully preparing for this. And I'd look like an up verifier going full on this. Now, why do you think I was taking so much meticulous attention to getting that bike ready for this 2-week trip in the dirt? Anybody? Go A2. Start A2.
Well, I would say you want it to work right.
It's gotta work. Yeah, I gotta be on that trip and be in the dirt bike trip, not sitting in the support vehicle, watching everyone ride. Right?
And that would make it a waste of your time.
A waste of my time. And the 2, what do we want most for a down complete?
Freedom and flexibility.
Freedom and flexibility. If that bike breaks down, I'm not riding now. I don't have the choice of taking that trip down, Gunshot Creek. So
Get in the way of your
that
goal.
bike gives you, sorry,
go, Dougie.
that bike gives you freedom and fun. You don't want it to bog you down.
That's right. I want to ride. I don't want to be a mechanic, right? And smartly for me, this drive, when we knew that there was a serious 2 or 3 motorcycle mechanics on the ride, I'm going, oh, good. I'll bring my gear for switching. I don't have to worry about things on my capacity. So I'm really in that ride.
Give me a toolkit and bring me along.
Yeah, that's right. So what would look like my behavior of being a drive that's being really careful and being prepared and doing it all beforehand, it's not that. It's the other drives driving it. So I want to just check in with Grant here for a minute because he's my favorite 70. And 70, any of you who have got 1 drive up but no 3 or a 2 down, you would know that's a 70 from your earlier training, but you might have forgotten. So that means that one drive is the biggest bird in the nest. It's like the roosters we just sent to a farm yesterday. He was the top of the tribe. He would get everything first. Everyone would eat after them. And that's what a pecking order actually means. They peck each other out of the way till they've had a feed. So Grant 7 in Verify is going to get most of the feed, and then after that, the down in Verify, the down Authenticate, and the down Improvise get a feed. You're preparing for a trip like this. You're going to go Cape York, week up, week back, full-on bike riding, camping. What's your accept it? What questions do you have? What do you do for prep? And how do you deliver? What's your initial reactions from your 70, Grant?
I just need to know that it's going to be right and it's going to work properly, and that I'm.
What do you need to know about the trip before you even sign on and buy a dirt bike? I bought a dirt bike for this. That's how committed I was.
Yeah, good question. What are the things I need to know?
Okay, sorry, you've done it. You've said enough. Did you see what he had to do, folks? Right. Okay, hang on. Whoa. Let me think this through.
Yeah.
You're going to have a list of questions for me soon.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
And through that, when it starts to make sense, you gave a good summary, right? The first thing, and then through those, initially, those of you who might want to bring Grant on this drive, if you took just his first reactions, you might think, oh, well, he's not interested. He's just critiquing the thing to death, right? He's just killing it, right? That's his way of engaging. So all of you who are down, even 5s or below on Verify, when you see someone like with a Verified drive quizzing the hell out of you, I need you to take that from why are they critiquing this to this. Wow, look how engaged they are. Listen to all the questions they've got. That's their form of engagement. It drives us crazy, but it's their form of engagement. And the more questions they've got, the more keen they are to play.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah. So the thing about also 70, if I could ask, when does the down improvise, the down authenticate and the down improvise kick in? When's that point when you start asking those kinds of questions that are not verification questions and priority and purpose and problem and so forth?
Sorry, you're asking me that question?
Yeah, sorry, Grant, I'm still picking on you.
Yeah, no. There's a point where, pardon the pun, but where I instinctively, my drive is satisfied. It's where the verification piece feels like, right, I've got that, I'm clear on that, and then I do start to gravitate towards, how do I check the risk and make sure that I'm not putting myself or others at risk? And, then I start to gravitate a bit more, but it's far more subtle. It's not as, exactly. And I know this sounds obvious, but it's just not as overt as me needing to know. Yeah.
It's far more subtle. Good point. And you don't even think to do it. It's instinct. So guys, correct. Your smaller drives kick in once the big drive's full. Once the big drive's had its feed, it doesn't then say offer food to others. It just sits back and gets out of the way and the others come in and feed. So your attention then goes there because your 8s and your 7s and your 3s are not demanding the attention. And so the smaller drives kick in. So you can reverse engineer that for your peak performance to get back by going, okay, what can I do to calm down the major drives? And what do they need? Give them that to chew on. Then I can look at that problem from the other points of view. The danger of solving a problem in your life, be it from home or health or finances, without getting your first drives out of the way is you will keep being off foot. You'll keep, it won't work. You'll get stepped on, so to speak, by, you come up with a strategy, then the big drive goes, yeah, but what about this? So for Amanda, you don't necessarily have to answer, but I'm going to use you because you're in front of my screen here with your 1 in improvise, right? So and I know, and anyone else with the down improvise, you're not moving a finger until the major risks are dealt with, right? But the good news is that happens so quickly, it won't look to us from the outside, you're doing 1,000 calculations a second on risk factors and ameliorations for that, and what's the contingency plan for that, and so forth. And at the same time, do you find, I need to ask you from your 8 and 1 combo, do you find that you're also doing what's the problem and what's the purpose and what's the priority? You're verifying, is there some overlap with that? Or does it really like risk gets done, then analysis gets done, then plan gets made? Do you, is it, am I being too simplistic?
It's a tough one because I'm listening to all of these and I find that I can't really distinguish my 1 and my 8. So it all happens at the same time. And so it gets quite conflicting for me, the verify and the avoiding provides. I feel like it all happens at the same time.
Yeah.
But in terms of the 1 and the 8, and then so I do all the analysis, I figure out all the risks, but then when I commit to it, then I get it done. And I think that's my complete. So but you're right, I go through all the questions and, you know, my husband's completely opposite on all of this. So for him, he thinks I'm questioning, but actually, and I'm going to tell him that I'm engaging, I'm interested in what's going on. It's when I'm not questioning, it's actually, I'm like, oh, whatever kind of thing. So, but it's, I don't really see, I can't really see the difference on my avoiding providers and my verify. I think they play at the same time.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I was sort of tricked you there. I wanted to act like they were. I know they're not equal numbers, boys and girls, but you know, there's raw scores for these IDs when you get their actual raw score when you do reports. So that what you see in 8, it could actually be an 8 up to an 8.4. And when you see a 1, it could be up to a 2 point, Ian, help me. It could be a, 2.4 as well before it switches over. Oh, no, the other way around,
Other way around,
Other way around. And so therefore, they could be almost equal, literally, you know, they could be very close. And when you describe it like that, when you can't discriminate it between them, it's like that. It's like asking a 7. We got a 7-7 on here because it really helps with a 7-7.
It's Leonie.
Oh, Leonie, thank goodness. Welcome, Leonie. Now, what happens to your head when I ask you this? You've got to deliver this report back to me because we had a good chat and we've agreed. And I needed Friday for the meeting and my meeting. And it's not really right. And so you need a bit of time to really make it right, but you got it. It's due for the Friday meeting, but it's not really right yet. What do you do?
I work out what you want it to achieve. And I ask you lots of questions about what the priority is to get it right. Yeah,
and I say it's this, has to have that, and it has to be Thursday. And you go, but it's not that yet. You don't. It's not right yet, and it's coming on Thursday. Coming on due date. What do you do?
Panic.
Keep going.
Yeah, just find a way to get as close as possible to what's needed.
Okay, so boys and girls, her 2 7s cannot make that choice, right? So who decides? What made that decision? She said it several times. The 2 was screaming at us.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the worst case scenario that's going to go on here? And I'll work towards that. If you know that not delivering the full 7 is worst case, you'll be late, but you'll tell them, you know, look, give me another. If you know that it's not that crucial, it'll still work out. It's not that 100%. You'll be on time. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, what if she had 3 3s, right? 7 7 3 3. We got a 7 7 3 3. We can pretend then. What
Not
goes
on
on then,
today.
guys? Say what, Ian?
No, we haven't. We haven't got a 7733.
Okay. Well, we know some 7733s, and I got to tell you, the up, down, down drive it can be a rough drive, or it can be an absolute one of your best friends. It's like your best workers, the way they work things, or they can be like, haven't you? Well, that can be your most biggest challenge, right? And they don't mean to be. And when you get someone like Doug, who's got a 7643, where it's softened a little bit, it drops down a bit. He can explain it a bit better. But what, Doug, in your words, what makes a 7733 either be your most favorite employee or your most challenging one in a fashion?
Yeah, broadly, I think it gets down to respect. If you are respected for how much you need to know and how long you've got to do it, and people don't just take you for granted, then you're a buddy. But if you're taken for granted and you just think you can bulldoze me, no, it doesn't work.
Okay. So what's going on with those two is let's imagine Dougie with 7 up, down, down. They have to deliver it right. They've got to do it themselves and make sure it works. They've got to do it in their own time, down 3, down complete, first complete, and it's got to be risk-free. So that's not a drive that hands over things easily, right? That would be when they were in primary school, does not play well with others, right? Kind of a thing in a fashion, because they don't want to risk it being wrong, risk it getting broken, get trapped by it, or have it not work. They're not playing well with others because they're not friendly and happy and good people. They're doing it because they want the damn thing to be right and to work and to keep moving and to be reliable. And so when you respect their contribution and you're on top of them, as Doug's saying, and their contribution has some chance of proving itself, they will, and here's the kicker, will fit into the overall picture of what the group's decided is the target and what works is and what flexibility is and what safety is. When they're aligned to the group, they're going to be your stalwart supporter. But if they've skewed off in their definition of what's right, of what's working, what's safe, and what freedom means, then they're going to fight you tooth and nail, and they will be very good at that, right? Because they got these 4 drives of evidence ready to battle you, right? So what it comes down to when you're looking at combos, different IDs in different directions, it's not even that they're different, it's the definition they provide. So I can have 2 7373s on the same topic, and they can clash because their definitions of what those drive needs clash, and therefore the same drive powers, the same skill set is going in different directions. And that's what we call a same drive clash. And they can be rough because it's like 2 great swords people, you know, both having a battle. They're both trained by the same sensei, you know, and they have the same. I learned this from my son, not from a drive point of view, but he is an authenticate, but he's down verify, he's down complete. He's my drives, but more intense in the down verify, and I'm a 5. We were having a gig. He used to work for me when I was running seminars and with him. And one point we were arguing about where we should put something and do that. And it was going on. Finally, he stopped me. He goes, "There's no point in us arguing about this. I learned to argue from you. You're never going to win, and neither will I. So let's let someone else decide this." And I went, 20-year-old tells 42-year-old to shut up and works. You know, like, he was absolutely right. It's like the nuclear war. There are no winners, right? So know fully well that when you're going head-to-head with someone with your drives and your peak performance is being threatened by it, don't solve that problem the way you're solving it. Reassess what the problem is. Agree on what the problem you're solving is. Go back to definition, what real means, what right means, what freedom means, what complete means. In your cases, you people with the complete drives up, your clashes will come when it's the rollout of this thing, the plan. Go back to what were we working on in the first place to deliver here that this plan's rolling out for? Does this make sense? Like get the definitions right first. Then go back to solving the problem. And it works when you're going peak performance. When I asked you for your number for, say, your finances, and you know it's below an 8 or 7 or something like that, you want to look at, okay, what gives it that number? What's missing from my drive is where you're going to look. Whenever you have a low number in your peak performance, something in your drive's not fed. Some one of your drives aren't fed. So go look to start with your strongest drive. You go, what's missing? If you can't find out like what to do, start from what's missing. What's the drive need? Go to your needs table. Well, I need to know the purpose and the problem and the priority of this problem. That's what verifiers need to do. I need to know I'm working with the best talent. I need to know that there's going to be some ranking to, you know, all that. First step for returning to peak performance is replace the needs that are missing. How do you do that? You use the talents that very drive has. So if you're having people problems and you're a verifier and the people aren't on board, but the thing's right, you've solved it, you've given them the process and the procedures have been checked and you've done your verify on it and ta-da, and they're not following it. Rather than attack them, the new problem is you're a verifier. Verify what's missing for them to get on board. What do they need to buy in? What's missing? Every time there's a drive missing something, it'll show up in vulnerable behaviors. The other thing to go in when you're looking to solve a peak performance problem is, what do I bring to this that brings my blind side? What brings my blindness into this, right? So my need to, make it real. My vulnerability of that is I'm going to default to my real first. So you bring me a problem and you start talking to me before you ask for my help. I'm going to want to give you something, right? My authenticate's ready to go. What might not be doing is giving a solution to what I think that problem is, as you're describing. I haven't asked you what you want. So we bring a vulnerability to our own problems. We're part of the problem. We're underutilizing a talent and a need's missing. And that's why you don't have an 8 in peak performance. Does that make sense? Now let me just check what I did next here, because I'm going to ask you some questions. I just want to see. Okay. Way just said, when we have equal drives, nothing wins. Other drives can sometimes tip the balance. But when you have powerful equal drives like this, you need to give these people a bit of leeway in terms of when they're in that state. They won't be at their best when they're out of stride and drives are clashing. It's the same. They have equal power and they're not quite sure what to do, and they might sometimes just do something apparently maybe brashly or insensitively because they're struggling to get some foothold. And you can't just necessarily go, well, we'll start with the verifying work across left to right, because if you're from other countries, they work from right to left, right? So they read different way. But what you want to look at is just pick one, because if you just pick one, well, let's just get this one done. Well, let's just get some freedom here. Well, let's just get it safe first. Okay, what is real? What do we already know is working? What do we already know that's right? What do we already know that's flexible? What do we already know that's safe? Let's start there. And that's the what do I do when I don't know what to do strategy in a nutshell. Start with any drive, usually your strongest one, but if they're evens, start with a drive and go, what's already satisfied? Where's that already fed? Then start back feeding the ones that are still hungry. Am I still got that works? All right, let me just check one more thing. I'm going to ask you some. Oh, that's that. Now, just so you know, at the end of these slides Ian's going to send you, we've got, oh, shut off, hang on. Oh, okay. Talk amongst yourselves.
Great. Can I make a comment while you're doing that?
Yes, please. That's why I did that, so you can have a chat.
Thank you for the opportunity for 6427. I love the description you're giving, and to me, I can tell you my own experience is a 2 incomplete, which the 2 rules all worlds. I basically want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, and how I want to do it. That's the 2 incomplete. I really compare the PPI and when I'm a lower number to if you have a wound and I say to you, well, you're hurting. Where do you hurt? Oh, I hurt my hand. I bumped into something and I hurt my hand. To me, understanding your drives helps you to identify where the hurt is. And it gives you a conscious awareness of it. So for me, the conscious awareness is the second I feel like I'm getting boxed in and I don't have options, that'll just take me down. And so I know that's where I'm going to feel the pain.
Yeah.
I've identified it consciously. And then the strategy for that, of course, for me is what are the best 3 to 5 options?
What's the what?
My strategy for that is to ask myself, what's the best 3 to 5 options that I have? So I get myself in the mindset of looking for what are options versus me feeling boxed in, because there's always options.
Right.
And I have a question in front of me that sits in front of me on a Post-it on my computer that says, how can I be free in this moment? Because freedom is really the thing for me.
Right.
So anyway,
right.
Thanks.
That's brilliant. Oh, that's brilliant. Which drive's telling her, asking that question, guys? With the freedom? Hold a finger up. Yeah. All right. But notice what that's got to be satisfied. And you know, when you identify, oh, that one's missing, and that's the beginning of you solving that problem. As soon as you go, oh, it's this, you've gone from problem now to solution mode. And then you move to your 7 and go, all right, come on, 7. Come on, 7. What are my options here, right? And then lastly, you get logical about it with the 6. You know, and you go, is this, and you might want to go, you know, this happens a few times. I might try this next, you know, and then what, you know, that Post-it came from your 6 and 4 after you'd solved something, you know, yeah. So this is great. Kimmy, someone else who's got a situation where we asked you out of stride, or if you want to use an in stride, from one of the things we did with peak performance at the beginning, and throw it out. And let's look at what drives were missing in this out of stride situation. Or if you want to do a good, you know, one that was working, talk about one you're in, and we'll unpack why that worked, so you can duplicate that and copy it again. So anytime you pick something from the list before when we started, and give me your example of you had a situation. So I did the Paul handing me the seminar for today at Cape York, and who would like to go?
I'm happy to go, Greg.
Thank you.
It's Gail. In my youth, I used to be out of stride so often because I never understood myself. And I remember when I was studying, and I
Sorry, Gail, I need to remind everybody what your ID is because it's not on the board there.
Sorry, 4229.
Okay, 4229.
Yeah, and so I'd do an exam, and I'd always finish half an hour before everyone else. Then I'd go into a panic because I thought I'd missed the whole topic. And I'd sit there for half an hour beating myself up because I'd obviously done something horribly wrong. Everyone else was still writing and I'd finished long since. I wasn't smart enough to get up and walk out. And then when the results came out, I'd go, what's going on here? Because I was a really good student and I used to get very good marks. And it was when I met Paul and he asked me, how do you go in exams? And my whole world changed. And since then, I'm so seldom out of stride because I just realized, well, I might be a bit wacky and I might do things a bit different to everyone else. And I noticed there's no other 4229 listed on the in the numbers.
No.
So I just conclude, okay, that's how it is. Just get on with it. And so even if everyone else around me is having a meltdown and is out of stride, I'm just going, oh, well, I'm fine. It's very, very peculiar. But as I say, it's a total change since I understood ID.
And the change came, say again, what changed? What did you change?
I don't know that I changed anything other than going, well, that's me. Okay, get on with it, Gail. You're you and you're not somebody else.
So if we work down explaining that to everyone from your drive point of view, what we're looking for is what happened, what fed the 9 now that the 9 wasn't hungry and out of stride before? What did that information give you that the 9 goes, ah?
I don't need to worry about other people's expectations. Think positive, get rid of all the negatives. It doesn't matter. And it's about pulling that positive energy into place. And that was what I had done because I was worried because everyone else was doing it different. And there was something wrong with me rather than that's who I am.
Now, you've given us more than you may realize with that. Now, what a lot of people don't recognize about the up improvise, and here's a 9, you really want to understand improvise, listen to what she says and watch what she does, but she won't be able to explain it as well as someone else would. Gail's going to give you it just is, right? So she's like, study this creature in the wild, but the creature can't tell you what it's thinking, right? Sort of thing, right? And what she just did was show you that the minute the sense of anything's possible and there's going to be impact and wow, then I get to fly. But the improvised drive sometimes won't even like a surprise if the possibility of surprise is that everything will go pear-shaped. And they'll look really bad and the image will be devastating. If they have control over it and it's their creation, they'll make it work. But if someone else imposes a surprise or a change on them without them knowing the boundaries and where they can go, and remember, you were young when you started this, and you didn't know what power you had and what was yours and not yours to claim. And so you can see improvisers with 8s and 9s and stuff and be seemingly unimaginative and creative and so forth because of that fear. And it sounds like down verify, being judged and being criticized and all that. A lot of her language sounded down verify as you were listening to her. And it kicks in, but it's the 9 going, can we fly? Can we fly? Can we fly? And if it looks like there's any sense of no flying, then it trends down. And if you didn't believe me, you could watch her head and know that we're hitting the target here, right? Because it looks like one of those dolls on the back of a car, right? So thanks for that, Gail. I needed to use you because you're a great example. Somebody else, for a time when you're out of stride, and we'll unpack where your drives are missing and see how the combos work together. It's near the wire. I'm not going to save you.
Yeah, Greg, I was just going to, I'm an 8 in improvise, as you can see, and I've got 3 equal drives, so that's really interesting. But just when you were, yes, my head was nodding because I was doing a webinar the other night, and I'm one of the other people on the committee had organised the webinar, and then at the last minute I was getting, when I was trying to set the webinar up, I was getting about 5 or 6 or 7, it seemed like hundreds, but it was only 5 or 6 or 7 requests coming in for, where's the link, where's the link, where's the link? And I'm like, I've only got, I want to make this really good because I had some really, high profile people speaking and everything, and I had no idea what this other person had organised or hadn't organised, and it was just like stressing me out. And then in the end I just went, oh, I've just got to let that go and just get on and focus on this webinar and make sure that works well. Let go of what I can't control, but that stress, that not knowing the boundaries of what had been done or hadn't been done. And that was the 7. Yep, you go ahead and do it, trusting that it was going to work. But in the end, going, holy shit, how am I going to manage this? Because I know some people are going to get upset. And it's not my fault.
Yeah. and you're going to get judged. So the 2 kicks in and the 7 gets broken, and now it's going to be trapped. So tell everyone again, what pulled you out? What was the first part that pulled you out of the spin? Because you're in a spin. The plane's going down. The wings are going round. What was the first?
It was the impact thing, because it was about I'm really wanting to make sure that this is good. It was the first time this group was on the president of a local business chamber, and it was the first Zoom meeting that we'd had for a while, and we had 3 community leaders giving us an update on what was going on. So I really wanted to make it of really good impact and of value to everybody. So, I'm going to suggest something happened before that. But you're going to have a tough time telling us. What am I alluding to, kids? It's like, I'm going to say you're too this sense of this being absolutely judged and critiqued. It is related to the 8, right? It's that it won't have an impact, and when you feel it personally, or you might feel someone else personally is going to be judged wrongly or critiqued or not accepted, that's the one that can go 2 ways. It can debilitate you, like it's a give up thing. Or I didn't give up. It was just that determination kicked in. But yeah.
Okay, right. Or it's like, well, there's too much time. We're going to be online. The other 2 for the complete kicks in. That's a long time to be debilitated. I don't want that. I don't want that inflexibility for that period. Desperation is a really great motivator for you. You got to look at Pam nodding. Yeah, it's like, nah, I'm not putting up with this shit anymore, kind of a thing, right? So don't worry about the times. But if you're putting your vest on, you're lock and loading, right?
I gotta call them my big girl pants. Yep.
Okay, that's right. I've said that has to happen before you then start getting clever with the 7 about what needs to be, and that's the guy that's the best in emergencies. What needs to be done now, right? And you're a 7-2. I want my medic, if I'm out in battle or I'm working on fires or something, I want my medic to be a 7-2, man. I want that. What do we need to do now, right? I want him skilled and trained, but I want that now. So just note that when we pull ourselves out unconsciously, on our instincts are pulling ourselves out, it's already happening before we may be conscious of it. And particularly when you're down in verify, you're not going, all right, now let's just see. Like you're and it seems like it's like chaotic, but you need to go into that. Oh no, and it's not an improvised down. Oh no, it's like no, I ain't putting up with that, right? And we then gird up and we gear up and then we go, and that's not the time that we're probably at our best negotiation mode, right? Now we're in a get out of my way, let's get it done mode, and we sometimes have to go back to others to clean up some of the rubble that we left in our path, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I did that. I just went back a couple of, later on and said to those people, sorry, you didn't get on. This is the situation. Next time we'll do it this way. And, just sort of patched up because that patching up is really important, to do, absolutely. But yeah, talk about emergency situations. Yeah, I mean, if I come across like something I've come across a few times in my lifetime, a car smash on the road or something, I just kick into, okay, what do we need to do? Let's get it done. Yeah. Let's make it happen, and
we do it, and then we either get the shakes or throw up or do something later. We have our panic afterwards if we need to, right? Now, guys, there's a set of slides that came with this that Paul sent me that when I go to click forward, they don't seem to be there, but so I just won't go there and lose it. But there are a detail of all the ups and downs of Ian. You know which ones I'm talking about. For some reason, they're not showing up on this. Ian will send them to you.
They all get posted on the website. We post it all up on the website, so they're all there.
Oh, great,
there.
Great. And the reason for that is we had an opportunity. I think it's this one. Imagine going through in a time just unpacking the idea of, okay, you got to verify. What's that do with a use authenticate? And what's that do with an avoid authenticate? What's the verify with a use complete and an avoid complete? So you take the verifies and combine them with the up-ups and the down-downs of the next one. Then you do that with the avoid verifies, and you do it with the authenticate, and you do it with the complete, and you've done by the time you get to improvise in a fashion. So we can start giving you some information and then going through examples of those with your real life stuff. And we're all aiming towards this one down here, which is the code I want you to get better and better and use this stuff for, is the what do you do when you don't know what to do strategy. And one of the times that is going to kick in the most is when you really don't know what to do. So let me give me end screen share. And what I'm looking for here is some sense of application for this. So it really works if you bring something, and we've got some different ways for you to play with this where you may not have to share, but you can still do the exercise yourself and then check in with us if you want. But has anyone got, one after. Anyone got a question or comment before we shut off? Okay, I've only got 3 more hours I need to do, but we actually have a workshop after this starting at 8, so I probably should go. But the boss was just on the call, so he's going to buy me some time, right? So it's okay. Look, send your comments in if you have any more questions, and let us know if you like what happened today or not, and whether I'll ever come back or be invited back. And it was a pleasure letting you hear what I think and hearing what you think. So thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Greg. Much appreciated.
Right.
Great job.
Cheers, Greg. Thanks for that, Rob.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, I have to go. See you later, Kurt.